It's on. Welcome to the May 21st Town Council meeting. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Does any member of the council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regard to any item on the agenda? And if so, please state at this time.
No.
No, sir.
Okay, Robert Neal is going to do a presentation from Moffett and Nichols. He's on his way and not here yet. So we can move to public comments on the agenda items only. Oh, amendment and approval to the draft agenda. We don't have it.
No change for me.
No change.
None.
Okay, we can do public comments first if anybody has any comments on the agenda. You want to go to old business? Okay, first thing up is old business, Sunset Vision Fitness Trail. John?
I have a statement I'd like to read, please, on behalf of Sunset Vision. Charlie Nern and I are members of Sunset Vision, just to be clear. The mission of Sunset Vision has always been to enrich our community by funding and maintaining amenities and features that promote nature, education, and enjoyment for residents and visitors to Sunset Beach, such as our support to the Shoreline Project at Town Park, the donation of Sunset Shelley, the turtle sculpture at the Gazebo Garden, and our support to environmental educational efforts of the Sunset Beach Turtle Patrol at little or no cost to the town. The proposed fitness trail was intended to be in keeping with our vision. Unfortunately, this past Friday, May 17th, Sunset Vision was informed by a representative of the property owners that due to a recent change in policy in the administration of the Village at Sunset Beach Property Owners Association, the expenses for the entire common area of the Property Owners Association were being allocated and assessed against the individual property owners. This would mean, as a property owner of the proposed site for the fitness trail, the town would be responsible for proportional ongoing annual cost to the POA of approximately $3,000. This recurring annual fee was never disclosed prior to Friday by the property owners or the POA, nor was it contemplated by Sunset Vision. Sunset Vision will not ask the town of Sunset Beach to take on this financial burden. The intent of the Sunset Vision proposal has always been to gift the fitness trail to the town, as it has done with other projects with minimal financial commitment from the town. Therefore, in view of the very recent change in policy of the POA, Sunset Vision is withdrawing the fitness trail proposal at this time unless and until a suitable alternative site becomes available. Sunset Vision expresses the gratitude to the town, to the staff, and the council for their support at the May 6th Town Council meeting. And with that, I'd like to put a motion on the table to withdraw the previous proposal of the town for the Sunset Vision Fitness Trail project until such time as Sunset Vision proposes an alternative plan.
Discussion.
I just think that I'd like to thank the Vision. I'd like to thank the Sunset Vision for their effort for the trail. It's an unseeable happening. I'm sure that we'll readdress this later on, but thanks to John and Charlie.
And the town staff and Hiram for the work they did to investigate and make sure that we were as prepared as possible for this.
Vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. sure we can.
Mr. Neal's,
Okay, Mr. Neal? This would be an update on the dredging project.
Good morning, Council. Apologize for running late this morning. I had a presentation I wanted to go through, however, with updates from yesterday. I think that presentation may be a slight bit misleading, so I will hit the key points in it, but mostly just give a verbal presentation as it might be more current and up to date. But what I wanted to do is provide an update on where we are with the permit application for the South Jinks Creek feeder channel and finger canal systems, as well as the Bay Area. That dredging project, as far as the permit application for that, as you are aware, the permit application for Turtles and Mary's Creek was approved last December, but so we are lacking. The town wanted to move forward as a whole with all of the dredging aspects of the project. And the permit has been submitted, is being reviewed. The technical aspects of the permit itself have been deemed complete. However, we are lacking in notification to the property owners. By statute, we are required to make a diligent effort in order to notify all of the property owners within the project area. So that would be Cobia Street, all of the canal streets, as well as the beachfront, Riverside Drive. We use the property appraisers' information, use the legal and homeowners or landowners' property address. Sent those applications out. There were over 300. Some of them have come back, and those that were owned by LLCs or small corporations or some sort, they did not accept those, and the state is saying that we have not, using the legal addresses for the homeowners is not considered sufficient for a diligent effort, and that we are to find the agent of that corporation, do additional research, find the agent of that landowner or LLC, and then send notifications to them. So it's more than just the legal address of the homeowner or landowner. It is the agent of that landowner that we must now communicate with, which is the first in my experience, but such as it is, we are asked that. Yesterday we were informed by the state's legal counsel that is what is expected. We have asked the questioner to the head of DCM, Braxton Davis, if he was copied on that correspondence, so I assume his response is going to be the same. But that is our status at this point, is there is 50 some odd property owners that need to be updated, 50 some odd properties that need to be updated. Of property owners, I think it's considerably less than that, because a lot of them are owned by the same LLC as far as rental properties or development properties.
Robert, when's the time limit end? How long do we have to do this process? Why people just don't acknowledge the letters, even the people, the agents?
The time never ends. It never begins. Until the application is deemed complete, the agencies do not start their review clock. And they are saying that, and it is a statute, that in order to deem the permit application complete, the total aspect of nothing changes in the project. It's just simply the notifications to the property owners. They're saying they have to have verified or certified mailings verifying that the property owners were notified before their clock starts. They have a maximum 90-day clock review period. So once that application is deemed complete, they will have 90 days to review it. Typically, they only use 75, but they have or less. For this project, we can expect 90. Beyond that 90 days, we can expect this permit to be denied, and this goes on in more of what I wanted to talk about, why we're not using the presentation that I provided, where it may be misleading. We can expect the permit either to be denied or that it would be conditioned into an aspect that would be overbearing or too much of a hardship for the town to perform. In other words, they would require us to either require us to either dredge through Tubbs Inlet or North Jinks Creek, or I believe it's Eastern Channel behind Ocean Isle Beach, they would require us to make a deep water connection at the same elevation as our dredge template to some other water body that is deeper than that, which would be Intercoastal Waterway or the Atlantic Ocean. So that would be the hardship. So they're either we can expect that they will deny the permit or condition it so that we have to do additional dredging beyond our project bounds. Both of those are bounds and reasons for the town to request a variance from the CRC. The state anticipates this variance request to come through. We have discussed this variance with the state. They are in support of it. At least they have indicated they would be in support of it. They have not stated that, nor written that, nor will they write that. But they have indicated, all except one agency, and I believe that's Division of Marine Fisheries, has indicated they would support it because it would alleviate the need or desire to dredge north of Jinks Creek. And at this point, they do not want us dredging north of Jinks Creek, that is from Riverside Drive to the Intercoastal Waterway. They have little concerns of dredging from Riverside, I believe it's Riverside, but toward Tubbs Inlet, or the feeder channel toward Tubbs Inlet. But if we were to move north of that, they want to avoid that, so they support the variance request. However, North Carolina statute and administrative code requires that any dredging project, any dredging project does not create a hole, and that we connect to deep water. So if we dredge to -6, which is what our template is, then we must carry that -6 contour to either the Intercoastal Waterway, which is deeper than -6, or the Atlantic Ocean, which is also deeper than -6. So we have to connect to some water body that is deeper by the administrative code. Now, so we anticipate, and all along, for some time, have anticipated this variance request. Where that puts us, after a permit decision once the permit is deemed complete, we can anticipate a 90-day period in which it will be reviewed. At that point, they will issue they will either deny it or condition it so that we will need to request a variance. That variance needs to be the variance request and permit action, so that it needs to be filed with the state a minimum of 6 weeks prior to the CRC meeting. The next 2 CRC meetings are in August and November. The, I'll say, issue that we're encountering now with the notifications, we had anticipated being at the August CRC meeting. The issue that we are encountering now with the certified mailings or the property owner notifications takes that off the table. And that was what I wanted to talk about in the presentation, is that we were anticipating being at the August CRC meeting. That will not happen. We can anticipate now moving toward the November CRC meeting, the Coastal Resource Commission meeting. I believe that is in Carteret County. At that point, they move around. They have about 4 or 5 meetings a year and move them around the state. So at this point, our earliest time we can anticipate, reasonably anticipate moving toward the CRC for that variance request and putting this project to the next step would be November, at this, I think mid-November at the CRC meeting. From that point, if the variance is approved, the permit will be issued as we have requested it. It would take approximately 30 days to do that, so we can anticipate by the end of the year we would have a permit as we have requested to dredge South Jinks Creek, the feeder channel, finger canals, and Bay Area. If we decided to go to construction this year, we would have until March 31st to complete it. It would be very difficult in order to accomplish the entire project within that time frame. We can take pieces of it out, such as the hydraulic dredging, which is a beneficial reuse placement. So South Jinks Creek, I think it would still be feasible to finish that portion, which would alleviate a large portion of the shoaling. But that is the update. Is we are moving forward. The technical aspects of the application have been deemed complete, and moving beyond that. But we are now at the property owner notifications. They are telling us that what has historically been sufficient is no longer sufficient. and we're trying to seek clarification on that, but the bottom line is we believe they're going to make us re-notify some of the property owners based on the agents of the companies, corporations, LLCs that own these developmental properties, and that'll take at least another 30 days in order to get the mailings out. They want to wait for those mailings to have time to come out and back, so it's not that we have to receive the return receipts or some type of notification, and they waited 30 days previously. I anticipate they'll require us to wait 30 days again. With that, we will not make the August CRC meeting and would be pushed to November. But yes, sir.
Two quick questions. The first one, all this information that you gave us, particularly the timeline and all the steps, is that outlined in this presentation?
It is
So
hinted
I
into.
had trouble
Yeah.
following it all. I'm sure everybody else did.
Yeah, I understand that. And I can be happy to come back and provide another update. But essentially, we're looking at November to be at the CRC. That's the bottom line. Some of the dates are referenced in here, but they are, until the permit is deemed complete, we cannot estimate when it will be reviewed. At the earliest, if it was deemed complete today, I think it would be August 20th or so, August 22nd, before it would be deemed, before a permit decision would be provided. At that, we could potentially make the,
My question really is each one of those steps itemized in here that we
No.
see it? We know that, just so that you sort of can track it.
no,
It's
the
not.
only item itemized in there is that the November, I'm sorry, I said August CRC meeting, it's in September and November.
Okay.
The key point is we're looking at the November 19th or 20th CRC meeting. 19th
And the second question, all the 50 or so properties and LLCs or whatever that you need to look for, do you have those addresses? Do you know those identifications, or do you have to go back and
We're
do
gonna
some
need-
type of research other than looking at the county tax and ownership records?
Yes, we're going to need to do additional research.
Robert, who does that? The town or you?
We're going to work in conjunction. I mean, there's a database online. I'm not sure how difficult it is. I don't expect it to be very time-consuming, maybe an hour or two, and we anticipate doing that ourselves. And just if we want to, what I'd like to do is propose is we'll put the addresses together, the letters together, and then hand them to the town to officially mail. Is what I would.
Are we being treated differently than other towns?
Being treated, this process is different than anything I've ever heard of.
So the letters sent to the CRC did not help us from Rich Serrato and Hildeman and people like that just trying to kill this program.
I'm not, I can't personally comment
Okay.
on that. But it's, I think that we are being held to a very strict interpretation of the rules.
Now, the 50 properties that still have to be mailed again, then we wait 30 days, and what happens if only 20 of them respond?
As long as,
Do
We hope.
they drag this out again another month, or is that the end game?
that is really up to the state. We will have certified mailings that we have, post office certifications that they were delivered or attempted to deliver, and if they were not delivered, they were refused. That is by code what is required. We either have to deliver it or the property owner has to refuse it.
We've done that already, right?
We have done that. They're asking us to notify the agents of the property owners now. And if they have indicated, they've indicated a lot of things, they have indicated that if the agents refuse them, then we would satisfy their interpretation of a diligent effort. But that they have not said officially. They said we'd talk about it once those mailings come back, once those certified receipts come back, that we would see what the next step is, I believe is their exact words.
Okay, so we don't know what the
We
next
don't know.
step is going to be.
We don't know.
Robert, you said it would take 6 weeks' notice prior to the CRC meeting.
Yes.
If everything goes based on this current timeline of having to wait for these remailings, you're confident that they'll get their review period and we'll still have enough time to submit the application for the variance package by, I guess, the week before October 1st?
We're hopeful.
Okay.
I
But
mean,
that's the timeline we're looking at. To make the November meeting, it has to be before October 1st that we get it out to them.
yes.
And is the variance package that detailed and involved?
No, it's going to be the permit itself
Okay.
in a simple form. It just has to be submitted. So it's not, I'm not worried about filling out the variance request. It is, I'd say at this point, I don't want to say we're for sure going to make the November or October
Yeah.
1st. I'll say that's our earliest,
If we miss the November, then it goes back to August of next year,
February.
February.
Most
But we
likely
still
February.
won't be dredging until the fall of 2020 at the earliest, regardless of any of these timelines, because there's still, if we get the variance, if this timeline works and they meet in November and approve the variance at the same meeting, we still have advertising, bidding, the whole bid process will take over a month. And then we're in the territory where they can't mobilize in time to do any dredging prior to the April 1 cutoff date.
Yes, to construct this year, we would need to assume it would put the town not necessarily at a risk, but would be some expenditures spent up front as opposed to moving stepwise. We would have to bid the project, not award it, but bid the project prior to actually having state and federal authorization to do the project.
So can we do that now, so we can get people in line to do the actual construction? Or do we have to actually wait until we get the permits?
We won't know, I'm sorry, Rob, but we won't know the actual details of the project for them to bid on until we know whether they're permitting our project, what conditions they've added, what conditions the CRC adds during the variance process. So they won't have a complete bid package until we get the final decision.
So there's no dredging in the year 2020 in the spring?
We could make a bid package and we could bid it out. There would be a potential for a re-advertisement or the town has the opportunity to reject all bids at any time when they receive them. We can assume we're going to receive authorization at that November, and we can assume some of the conditions that we should expect. If we're wrong, then we'd have to re-advertise, which is if the contractors, we can limit that re-advertisement to a 10-day period versus a 30-day period. So we can make it so that we award this year. Assuming the CRC acts at the November meeting, I think we can award this year, but there is some moving pieces in order that could also backfire. If they put a condition in there that substantially changes the project, the town would have the right and convenience to just cancel the bid, just cancel the project entirely. But there is obviously some expenditures in putting the bid package together and advertising. So that is where the town would be upset.
Wouldn't there also be expenditures on a part of the contractors to meet the terms and do stuff like that? I would think it'd be sort of a discouragement to somebody to submit a bid if they've paid any attention at all to this process to see how uncertain it is that they would actually get awarded a contract anytime soon.
But the only thing that behooves us to have it on schedule with one of these contractors, because I'm sure there's not a lot of contractors that do this type of dredging, so to have them bid it and award it and on the basis that we get all these approvals, at least we put on their schedule for the spring of 2020.
Well, we're talking to the contractors now. I would not recommend awarding at all, because if you award, you are financially eligible and mandated to pay for that contract price. So we can advertise. We're talking to the contractors now. We're letting them know it's coming. Even if we bid it, we would detail out in the advertisement that it is contingent on the CRC and all these other things happening. So we want them to know. We don't want the contractor to waste any time. Because if he wastes time, at some point someone's going to pay for that time and he's going to put it into our bid price. So we want to be upfront with them and let them know what's going on. As much information as they need and want, we want to be upfront and so that their time spent on the project is well deserved, and so that they can reflect that in their bid price.
In your opinion, should we put the bid out so
Well, I think there's even, and I'll let Hiram talk, as I understand, there's some actions that may need to become before that, but.
We still haven't held the public hearing for this project to determine how you're going to assess the project for the initial assessment determination. There's still multiple steps that, in order for us to hold that public hearing, we still need the application, I mean, the project details in their full for us to understand and how we're going to assess forward. So even if you're ready to pull the trigger and bid out the project, we still have 30-day notice on that assessment? Is it 60? 30 to 60-day notice for these public hearings on the assessment and everything prior to even awarding the project. So, you know, there's a lot of details that still have to be worked out statutorily for us to move forward. You can't just get the approval and pull the trigger
Should we set,
because you haven't done any of that.
should we
initial
set
prep
in
work.
motion to have a public hearing on this, to get that taken care of?
Well, you still need to be able to tell the public exactly what the project's going to entail.
And what
And
it's going to
without
cost,
knowing-
right?
And pretty
And
much.
and what it's going to
an
cost and
estimated
how the
cost.
shares will be allocated.
And we won't know all that until, the problem is this isn't a typical project. If we were just doing what most communities do, submitting our dredge application, submitting the project, moving forward, we could do all that. But there's been so much resistance from the state involving this project. We're not sure what exact conditions they're going to lay on it. We're not sure what that's going to do to the project scope in general. And as Mr. Neal pointed out, if they require us to go out to deep water, that changes our entire project. And even and if we can't go North Jinks and we have to go Tubbs Inlet, that's even outside of our jurisdiction. That's going to require some kind of mutual agreement between the jurisdiction it's in. So there's too many unknowns at this point to feel relatively certain that we could hold that public hearing without having to hold it again, is the issue. And then even if we were ready to pull all those triggers, we have a large area to dredge. Our mobilization fee would probably be doubled because they'd have to pull out. They wouldn't be able to do this entire project, even if they got the okay in November to move forward.
Well, the hydraulic portion is separate. There's two different, we want to do the hydraulic all in one season. The mechanical, or the material that's coming upland, the feeder channel, the Bay Area, Marys and Turtles Creek, that, the mobilization cost for those is probably around $75,000. And so I would like to do those and recommend doing those portions in one season. The hydraulic portion would take about 2 months, month and a half, 2 months. The mobilization cost for that with the beneficial reuse South Jinks Creek is probably $350,000 to $400,000 because you're bringing in the hydraulic dredge and pipeline and manpower for that. But so we could do the hydraulic portion this year if the stars aligned, and it would be rough. We could start work probably in February. Possibly, I would need to talk to Hiram and see what we would need to schedule, how we would do the financial aspects of the project. So it's I would say in one season we would need, let's say, 60 days to do the hydraulic portion. If we date back from March 31st, we're looking at need to start work around February 1st, roughly. To do the mechanical portion, you're going to have probably the full season to do Turtles, Marys, Feeder Canal, and Bay Area, Feeder Channel, excuse me, which would be November 16th to March 31st. I would definitely, I would like to plan on the full season for that because it's going to be very slow moving, and it'd be 138 days, I believe, in a typical dredge season.
And
So this project could be done in two
At this point, yes.
steps? Okay.
Question. Has there been any progress or update in terms of the Corps of Engineers' attitude towards spoils islands?
We have we have contacted, and I say we, as the treasurer for North Carolina Beach and Inlet Waterway Association, I'm working with them, or they're working with the entire state, communities along the entire state, to try and resolve this issue. The progress now is two prongs. NC Byway is working with the Corps to try and figure out what's going on and why. We have contacted David Rouser as well as Tom Tillis and Senator Burr. So Senator Tillis, Senator Burr, and Representative Rouser are, to work on the federal in D.C. Corps headquarters. Had a meet. Representative Rouser had a meeting with the Deputy Civil Works. Deputy Civil Works said it was a local issue, said they weren't getting involved. Headquarters was not involved, that the Wilmington District could handle it on their own. That is my interpretation of what he said. I was not at the meeting. I've heard third party. But Wilmington District has come back and said no one at headquarters has told them that. So we're communication breakdown somewhere there. The Assistant Secretary of the Army even came down and toured the Intercoastal Waterway, so the head of Corps of Engineers, Civil Works, came to Wilmington, toured the Intercoastal Waterway, was briefed on the issue, on the Spoil Island issue, but gave no feedback. And that is direct quote. That is from Wilmington staff, district staff, that they received no feedback from the Assistant Secretary of the Army when he was on site. We have just in the last 2 weeks, we found this out in March. We have in the last 2 weeks requested Representative Rouser to follow up with Corps headquarters, with the directors, the deputy, I believe it's Deputy Civil Works, but to find out what is the breakdown in that communication, or is there a breakdown in communication? Did we misunderstand something at that last meeting, or kind of where are we at and why are we not moving forward? So that is where we're at on that. So that's one prong of it, where we're working with our federal delegation, more or less, to try and resolve this with the Corps of Engineers. The second prong of that, NC Byway is working with both Wilmington District and the State Division of Water Resources, Coley Cordero, to try and facilitate or help in any way we can, provide assistance in a statewide beach management, a statewide dredge material management plan. A dredge material management plan. We don't know what that's going to look like, but if somehow the state can guarantee or take on the fiscal responsibility of finding spoil sites for the Corps of Engineers when they need to do maintenance, then the state could then take on management of these spoil islands, and then we could work through this. They would become open to the public again. Many other states do this, where the spoil sites are managed locally, and the federal government just says, I want a site, you're required to give me a site. They have to give them a site, whatever it costs, and move forward. So that's probably a 5 to 10 year plan. But so we're working. I give that update as a treasurer for NC Byway, and on the committee, the Dredge Material Management Committee. So it's moving forward, but no, there's no progress.
Thank you.
Robert, have you, the additional core samples, have they been done?
Yes, all that's complete.
Okay.
And I will say, one other item mentioned in the presentation, we had a question, or some questions continuing through this project, has been what would be the cost for future projects? What would be the maintenance interval? What can we anticipate down the road as far as how is Jinks Creek, how is North Jinks Creek's, how is the shoaling occurring in North Jinks Creek? What is the shoaling rate for South Jinks Creek, the feeder canal? What type of maintenance interval we should have? We have not focused on that information. We have looked at this as simply, let's do the initial dredging and then think about it. What I have put before you, I don't really need, not really asking for action today, because it's dependent on the Division of Water Resources funding some of that, but there is a proposal to do some bathymetric monitoring, to simply survey these areas and calculate a shoaling rate, so that we can look at, we did a survey in 2016, so we would come back now and do that same survey and look at how those elevations have changed. From those changes in elevation, we can estimate an annual shoaling rate, or we can see if indeed anything is shoaling or scouring, how the elevations are changing. We would propose, the proposal is to do all of the work areas, Turtles Creek, Mary's Creek, North Jinks Creek, the IWW confluence, to see if any shoaling is occurring in that as well. North Jinks Creek, South Jinks Creek, the feeder channel, the finger canals, the bay area, and all the way out through Tubbs Inlet. So we would essentially start a monitoring program that could be done either every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, whatever frequency we decided to do, but would help us estimate what a maintenance interval may look at like, as far as we would know the shoaling rate, and then be able to say, okay, we can expect if we dredge this year, in 5 years, we're going to need to dredge again, or 7 years, or right now we're grasping at straws at that because we don't have the data. That proposal is approximately $112,000, I believe, but again, I don't anticipate, I don't really want action today. I want to wait till the Division of Water Resources grant comes through, or if the council wants to consider it in between that time to see if they desire to move forward or if they're fine-tune that in any way. But so I just wanted to point that out, that it is in there, and I appreciate your time, and if any more questions, happy to address.
Kind of clear we're on a 17-year dredging schedule now, if we get this one passed.
Robert, I appreciate your hard work.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
One quick, sorry, one alibi, one quick, Robert, one quick question. Is this monitoring, is there any reason that this has to be done before we make decisions on our dredging program? Should we get permits?
No, it is
This
not
is-
part of it.
this is optional.
It's separate. There was a question proposed of what type of maintenance interval we should anticipate, and
This is the only way to find out.
well, it's, other than the fact that we dredged in 2002, so we're coming back 17 years later or something, yeah.
Well, we needed to dredge in 2010. That's. No more, thank you.
If you want to go back to public comments, give people a chance.
We had
They
public
have that down
comments.
to 7.
They'll get it at the end.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be able to do it again.
Just go to environmental resources.
Yeah. Okay, next up is Environmental Resources Committee discussion.
Yes, sir. Essentially, we still only have 2 applicants after our last round of re-advertising, so we're just looking for direction of how you want us to try to proceed.
Who are the 2? I know Peter.
John Farrell.
John Farrell and Mr. Larkin.
I think that we ought to, give it a shot and re-advertise again. I mean, we've gone through, and in the time with the closing down, with the resignation of the previous members, the council removed dredging as a topic for them to be working on. In the climate mitigation plan that I had put forward earlier this year and the council approved, there were a half a dozen different steps in there that were actions that the Environmental Resource Committee could be taking and looking at and studying on behalf of the town, behalf of the council, that are worthwhile doing. And so my feeling is the Environmental Resource Committee is something we should still have. We should still try to get. We have it set up to have 5 members. We have 2 now. I think we ought to re-advertise and see if we can encourage some more people to step forward and join this committee.
And if I may, our new stormwater manager also would like to see this committee to come together because he loved to use their input and resources and get them working on some of our stormwater plan projects moving forward.
Yeah, and those projects pretty much tie into the climate mitigation plan that we have out there too. So I mean, there's work to be done, and we need concerned citizens to step forward and be part of this committee.
All right, we'll re-advertise in the paper. What time, do y'all have a time frame? We'll also we'll put it on our email blast this time, even though it affects a lot of people who aren't residents and citizens. They'll just get a little bit of spam in their email box, I guess. Facebook and a few other projects or other places. Is there a time frame you want us to keep this open for? Is this an indefinite? Is this,
I'd keep it going to the end of June.
At this point in time, yeah, I'd say the end of June.
you want it like weekly in the paper, bi-weekly?
It's $99.50 a week.
I would definitely go bi-weekly.
All right, so,
That'd be advertised a couple of times with a 30 June.
As, right now, I'm just clarify something. You have to be a resident of Sunset Beach or Brunswick County.
that's what y'all,
Can we open it up, John, to Brunswick County? Because last time at the ORC, we did have.
no,
No,
the problem with that was, is y'all want the ERC to be involved in plan review with commercial projects. And you cannot have them making decisions on land use stuff if they're not involved, if they're not residents of the area.
Yeah, and that's not locked in stone yet.
Well, it was in y'all's rules, so
Yeah.
that they would participate. So those revised guidelines has that in there. That's why last time when we were trying to determine if y'all could make it available outside the community, that's the hiccup. Now, if you want to remove that and just have them be a cursory advisory or something on major, see, the problem is with your land use ordinance here, anything that's a commercial project has to get approved from the planning board. When y'all instituted that they would advise the planning board on commercial projects, they now have to fall under their rules and authority. So we can't have someone from like Leland coming in and dictating conditions and stuff to our, in our regulations. Removing that would open up your availability for membership.
I don't see changing that.
Okay, so then it needs to probably be someone, at the very least, that's a property owner in our jurisdiction. Well, lives in our jurisdiction or a property owner. I don't know if they have to actually be a full-time resident. They just pretty much have to be here.
How about a property owner, John? I mean, he's got interest in the community. I mean, I would just open it up to a lot more people. That's,
Yeah, I have no trouble with property owners, but they have to be somebody who can
Show up to the meetings.
show up for meetings. I mean,
Well-
if they can only come to 2 meetings a year, that doesn't,
well, when we interview them, we'll find that out.
yeah.
Well, my recommendation would be also, while we're advertising here, and this goes out to anybody listening, if anyone's interested or they know someone is interested in one of their many committees that they serve on in this community, just mention at the next meeting that y'all have. If there's someone that just wants to step up to the plate and contribute, put your name in the hat.
So I'm comfortable with property owners as well as residents. I
We have
think
to make a
that, I
motion
think
on
that
that, Lisa?
serves our interest.
Yeah, we just need a motion on our direction on just to continue the advertising. But I'd also like to point out that your membership does call for one ETJ member. Is what y'all ended up deciding when y'all created the revised rules. So the question
Okay.
also comes in, are y'all willing to start this committee once you have a quorum and exist with a vacancy? Or does it need to be a full committee before we pull the trigger?
I think if we have a quorum, we could start it.
So a quorum would be 3?
Of this one, yes.
And one has to be an ETJ.
I believe that's what was finalized in those rules, yeah. Because that's what brought up the wanting someone from outside be able to be a membership, and that's what killed it from being from anybody outside of our ETJ.
I would be comfortable with a quorum, but not specifying that one of those 3 people had to be an ETJ.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But one of the vacant seats is an ETJ seat, so we could accept someone that lives in the ETJ as well. But if you,
But go forward without it right now.
with
if we
the
have a
Board of
quorum.
Adjustment and the Planning Board, our experience getting ETJ members to assist the town has
Yeah.
been lacking.
Well, the ETJ
So-
population is very small.
That's true. But my question then was basically, if we can't get an ETJ member, are you okay with a vacant seat, is basically what I'm asking.
I am.
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
All right, we'll do our best to fill up get y'all enough applicants to fill up the whole thing. And we'll keep searching. Every time someone comes in for permits and stuff, we ask them if they want to serve on anything. So,
Should I make a motion now?
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we re-advertise for the ERC, and at this time, we accept a quorum of 3, and we'll waive the ECJ as a vacancy until it's full.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
No
All
more?
in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up, town use logo. Guidelines.
If I may, I know y'all wanted to discuss how you wanted to set up your guidelines for this. I do believe Ms. Harris also wanted to be part of that discussion, but since she's not here, if y'all want to move this forward today or not, that's up to y'all. But my recommendation, I'll go ahead and spell that one out, is I personally don't think that we should we should open it up to anybody to use the actual seal of the town and the logo of the town for monetary purposes and retail sales. I think letting us use it for things when, you know, Coastal Federation Smart Yards brochure and a few other things like that, where we've partnered with them in the past to show our commitment to those kind of nonprofits and their organizational efforts is fine. And I think that's something we can handle even at a staff level. But I think opening it up for anybody just to throw us out there as for them for like selling T-shirts, pennants, whatever, kind of cheapens and kind of associates us with those businesses when we may not be needing to associate ourselves with those businesses. I think it's just better to keep that close to home and only, you know, use our logo for things the town wants to put the logo on.
I agree with that. I just don't want it to look like we're supporting something that we don't support. So, I agree with Hiram.
So should I make a motion? We make a motion by, it's determined by the staff, case by case, or just eliminate any monetary companies using our logos at all?
That was my recommendation in your packet, yes.
Yeah. The only, in sort of continuing discussion just a little bit, it would be somewhere in this process, you know, it's hard to figure out what all the hypotheticals are out there in the future that would come up. So, you know, I would kind of leave in with the idea that if there's a situation that comes up that causes doubt for the town staff as to which way to go, then bring it to the council.
Right.
And we discuss it. But I think basically what I would call a very conservative approach of being very strict and limiting into who would be able to use our logo is the way to go. And I think you've crafted that pretty well here.
I do agree.
I agree.
So did you actually make a motion?
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the staff recommendation.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next up is going to be new business. The June community meeting.
In your packets, you've got a few dates. We've discussed previously, y'all would like to move to 2 meetings a year. At the last meeting, y'all wanted to make sure it happened before July, before we got into basically election season. Trying to keep in mind certain things. I don't know if y'all, they traditionally been on Saturdays. I don't know if y'all want to continue that tradition or not, but I've listed the available Saturdays that wouldn't conflict with other things that we've got going on in the area, to the best of my knowledge, but also would prevent us from having burnout right around the budget public hearing and the concert series, you know, trying to get the meeting before the concert started as well. So,
I think we have 3 weeks roughly to June 8th. I have no problems with June 8th.
The only date that I'm available is June 15th. There's sort of community activities going on the 8th and the 22nd that I'm heavily involved in.
Fine with that. Charlie, you okay with June 15th?
Yeah, I have something, but I can change that. I'll be good with the 15th. I do have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Where will we hold this meeting?
Presently, we were thinking in town hall, without, we didn't know what kind of time frame we would have to secure the other location. We can call to talk about using the, POA building. I can't remember what it's called. The POA building for, Seaside Station behind here. But if not, then we try to house it here. Yeah, essentially also for the YouTube. We had problems with our camera last time, getting it down there, getting the memory card and getting everything to be able to put it on YouTube. So the meeting was never able to be broadcast and recorded.
Yeah, we also had problems with picking up the mic and running it around the room when there was one stationary point for the YouTube to cover.
Right.
That didn't work.
Logistically, it'd be easier to do it here for us, but if y'all would like us to look out somewhere else, we can do that too.
What is the FAR code, the max we can put in here?
It's on the wall right there. I can't read it from
that?
here.
I can't see that far.
45 in this room, and in this room,
In the last, my estimate at the last meeting
it was
probably didn't.
44 people, 48 people, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, at the POA
Right.
location there. I
Sweet
think,
Trails out of the question, where we
I
had it a
think-
couple of years ago?
I don't know. We hadn't made that decision on how y'all want, it's
Yeah.
up to y'all for us to figure out where you want us to do it.
I
So we
mean,
have time to
one of the
advertise
other
it.
issues that comes up, that this is, we are into the season,
Yeah.
the tour season. So business representatives are not in a good position to drop everything on a Saturday or even on a weekday evening probably, unless we were going to do an 8 o'clock meeting. And I don't recommend that, but so I don't think we would have an overabundance of people. And with being able to get 70, 75 in here. I don't think we had, the last Sea Trail meeting at Sea Trail, how many, do you have a recollection roughly of how many was there
That was a lot of people in it.
at that one? Yeah.
It was full.
And y'all provided food, right? Y'all didn't do that one?
Just water.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with the 15th and here.
Lisa, can we instruct you just to, we'll do the 15th and we'll look at the options?
Yeah, we can look at a few options if you'd like us to, and see what it would cost and everything. We'll come back to you on that with the third, with a cost, if it needs to be somewhere else, but we need to get the advertisement out. Yeah,
Advertise for here.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's,
and a
Yeah.
time.
10.
Can you ask for a response back to see what the numbers? Or put it on Facebook, if you're going to attend, please give us a yes. And
Like an RSVP?
yeah. So if it's 80, 90 people, then we may have to move it.
We can attempt.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
10 o'clock in the morning,
Is that too early for you, Lisa?
it's always too early for Lisa.
10:30 is fine if you want to put 10:30. So 10 o'clock?
10 a.m., June 15th.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and, we'll make a few calls this week, and if the location changes, we'll just do an email, but we'll bank on it being here for the advertisement. We'll call around first, and if it's not a problem, and we see about people coming in, we'll figure something else out. There's always letting them line up and come in and out.
But the TVs will work in there, correct?
TVs doesn't work, but the speakers do.
Can we get the TV working?
It doesn't work that way. This isn't a closed circuit
Okay.
system. If we had the TV hooked up to the internet and it was displaying YouTube, there'd be like a 30-second delay.
Okay. So we're okay with the June 15th,
Yes.
10 o'clock here.
Yeah.
Do we need a vote or something?
Do you need a motion or no?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold a community meeting on June 15th at 10 o'clock at Town Hall.
Second.
Discussion?
No more. I don't have anything else.
All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I know we're almost done, but can we take a short break?
Absolutely. Take a short recess.
Tom, how you doing? Questions? They're dropping like flies.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
There's not always someone else above you.
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to have the disposition of directives for May 21st. Old Bridge Preservation Society
That's still on,
for 6/3.
yes,
Public hearing for the budget, 6/3.
Yep,
yep.
Conflict of interest recusal, 6/3.
if you want it.
I'd like to take that off, but I can't.
Well, it
That's-
can't come off the disposition of directives until y'all put it on an agenda. So I think that's the point of here is putting it on the
It's
agenda.
on the agenda.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Didn't we do that last time?
Yes.
All these
Wait.
dates have already been,
These dates have been put on, yeah.
ABC Board Liaison is still 6/3. Board appointment term limits is 7/1. The Gauss Cemetery at Seaside,
still waiting on the attorney,
Oyster Bay Road closing,
still waiting on the attorney.
Alligator Management,
Wait on
waiting
wildlife.
on
Wildlife,
Cama Land Use Discussion, that's Ms.
Councilwoman
Harris.
Harris isn't here.
Parking Problem Solutions is also Ms. Harris. Beach Rules Committee Objectives, also Mrs. Harris.
Do we know,
She's out.
she's
Ill
out
today.
Is she
Yeah.
sick today, or
Did
just,
she indicate the UI? She didn't give us an indication why she was out. She
okay.
just-
We know Mr. Serrato's traveling, but
Yeah.
that's, okay.
Okay, number 12, council action to officially remove Jinks Creek from the shoreline management program.
Don't touch that until after we know what we're supposed to be doing.
The legal review for dredging, erosion, and flooding.
If y'all want the attorney to look at these things, the ones that say legal review, you need to put them on the agenda to instruct us to have the attorney look at them.
No.
Leave 'em.
You know,
The
I
Serrato
want a
things, that we
legal
can't take
review. I
them
want a
off.
legal review. I want a legal review. And yet these all cost money.
And he doesn't believe our attorney anyways. What?
That's true.
Okay.
I
But we
mean,
can't touch it. He's not, Mr. Serrato's
All
not
you
here.
can do
so
is
we
put them on the agenda.
Yeah.
We do have agenda items already prepared for these, correct, Lisa? For most of
Yes.
these? Yeah, so they can be placed on the agenda if you'd like to go ahead and forward those to the attorney.
But if we place them on the agenda, then we're telling the attorney to work on them and studying them.
If that's
would-
how the vote comes out,
That-
yes.
Then,
No.
We don't have anything at this point to add to the agenda.
yeah.
No.
Okay. Island issues is a special meeting.
It can be
With-
discussed at the community meeting.
Yeah, with no further information.
And the boat ownership questionnaire.
That was,
It's Mr. Serrato. I have something on that.
about 2 years ago, he requested from the county tax office which of the property owners along the waterways own boats. I'm not sure what the point was that he was going to get, where he was going to take it.
The point
But
is,
the
Brunswick County, Horry County, any county in the United States could bring a boat here and use our facility. It's open to the public. So it makes, 1% or 50% own boats.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
All right, well, we can put that on the July 1st meeting and just vote on whether we want to go forward with this thing or be done with it.
That's fine.
that would work.
I'm good with that.
You want it July or June?
June. Let's do June 3rd.
It's a busy day.
That's,
You want to do it the 3rd?
please.
Are we overloaded on the 3rd, Hiram?
It's the budget.
It all depends. We do have the budget public hearing. You've also got your conflict of interest recusal agenda item, the ABC board. I mean, it's, and however long the presentation is, I don't foresee it being a
Hiram-
long discussion, so it
Yeah,
can go
Hiram,
on
didn't
there.
we understand that the ABC board, we do not have to have a liaison?
Yeah, we don't have to have a liaison.
Well-
That could be just a vote, John, that we're not going to have one.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. There's no reason to have a liaison. We have
No.
no function with the
No.
ABC board.
I sat in a
did it.
couple of meetings, and I'm
Yeah.
saying, why am I here for?
Yeah. And if anybody wants to go, they can go to the meeting as a private citizen.
So, yeah, so that's just up and down votes, so it'll be quick. I think we can keep it on for the 3rd, John. The vote ownership,
I'm
Okay.
comfortable.
okay?
Yes.
All right. That's good, Paul.
That's it.
Yeah. Public comments, that's it.
Next, public comments. Yes, sir.
My name is John Farrell. I live at 624 Oyster Bay Drive. I am one of the 2 people that has shown interest in being part of the ERC. In the time since I applied for that, I've done quite a bit of homework, and I'd like to share some opinions with the council on why other people might not be interested in being part of it. First of all, the rules and regulations for the ERC, in my opinion, are very restrictive, very limiting, and that's an opinion that has been shared in social media by quite a large number of other people. The rules and regulations were formulated by an entirely different council. I think John might be the only one that was, and Mark were the only ones that were part of the development of those rules and regulations.
Rich.
Rich was too. But
The current rules that we have now, wasn't it this council that,
This is the council that
This-
redid them after
we
they
redid 'em,
resigned,
yeah.
we redid them through this council.
yeah,
But using a lot of things that we did in the past.
yeah. Yeah,
yes,
Jan Harris and I worked together on that.
right.
To present it
And
to the
Jan,
council.
when Jan was, before she became on the council, when she was on the council, she made a lot of suggestions on how to improve those. And I don't believe they were incorporated into the rules.
Some were, John. I mean, John and Jen worked on that together.
Yeah. She was integral in drafting the current set of regulations.
I think the one in particular I was surprised at was the ability that she wanted the board, the committee to have to communicate with county and state parties about what they were doing. The other thing I noticed was that I went on the websites for the other towns along the coast, and their approach to the environmental activities of their towns appeared to me to be quite different. And I don't know if the best practices of the other communities in the area were considered in developing the concept of the ERC. And I think if this was looked at and maybe another update for the roles and responsibilities was done, that more people would show an interest and come out and want to participate in the activity. So that's just some feedback that I wanted.
Well, we're not supposed to be
Yeah.
talking back and forth. That's what the issue. And I apologize
and-
for
and-
that rule.
I'm new to all this, and I know I don't understand everything, but I have gone back over the council meeting minutes back to 2016 and read from the minutes a lot of the activities that went on in this area. So I just thought I'd provide that feedback to you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Good morning. Christopher Guchalka, 425 Cobia Street.
I'm sorry, could,
Christopher?
Christopher Guchalka, 425 Cobia Street. Looking over this latest dredging pamphlet, it seems there's approximately 40,000 cubic yards of material to be removed from the feeder canals in the Bay Area by mechanical means. Now, it was mentioned in the presentation that there might be some opportunity or a mandate that deep water access to the intercoastal be a prerequisite to this activity. Now, if that deep water access becomes a mandate, does that open up the possibility of eliminating some of this truck traffic to remove the 400,000 cubic yards by barge through this deepened access? And that's basically my question.
I think Mr. Neal can answer that better, but yeah, I do believe that, if we have access to deep water, the barge, the material removal isn't really dependent on the access to deep water, though. It's dependent on our locations for spoils. If we can use the spoil islands, then it doesn't matter how we get the material there. That material can go on the spoil islands, and we'll reduce the amount of trucks needed to deliver material to a site. So it's really independent of that. But also, I mean, it all depends on what we end up with after the conditions too. So a lot of that, the material moving is really going to be more dependent on the Army Corps of Engineers allowing us to use the spoil islands. Doesn't really have to do with the deep water access. However, having the deep water access would increase how much we have to move.
That's correct. It's the deep water access. We can at this point we can move barges in and out. It might be at high tide and use the boat ramp. We're still requesting permission to use the boat ramp for offloading, but the cost would change if we're barging material from feeder canal up to the boat ramp. And so right now, Cobia Street, the end of Cobia Street is recommended as a offloading site for that mechanical operations to maintain cost. So we. Thank you.
And Mr. Neal will have an update on our website with all the new information tomorrow morning. Is there anyone else? Thank you. We're adjourned.